Yo, welcome back to my channel, guys. If you're new here, my name is Steven, and I created this channel for the sole purpose of helping you grow deeper in faith and in your walk with Christ. So today in this video, we're going to be talking about what it looks like to have faith and how to take action in faith, because we all know that faith without works is dead. And that might be one of the top verses that is a little bit controversial and not many people know how to interpret it. So today I will be shining some light on that in order to help you, give you an idea of what it looks like to abide in faith while also trusting God while you're taking those bold actions. Many of us are in a season of waiting, whether we're waiting for God to provide, whether we're waiting for a relationship, we're waiting for healing, whatever it may be. We're waiting for God to provide us with something that we long for. We have needs, we're humans. It's normal to want these things, but waiting doesn't mean just sitting still. Because God loves a proactive waiter, and it's when we're taking those actions in faith, that's when he really starts to notice that we're really trusting him by taking those steps. So let's think about what we've been taught that waiting means. A lot of us think that waiting means that we're just sitting around, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for a miracle to happen. When in actuality, biblical waiting means that you're waiting for God to come while you're putting in the work. Because even though God is the God of suddenly and immediately, and he can definitely work miracles and wonders in everyone's life, it doesn't mean that we should just be lazy and waiting for him to take care of everything that we want to see come into fruition in our lives. That's exactly why James 2:17 says faith without works is dead. But if we're not taking the steps that is going to align us with his will, then how can we honestly expect him to bless us when we're not trusting him by taking those steps? So just to give you a few examples, let's say you're praying to God and you're waiting for him to provide a new job, right? You can do that. Of course, we definitely want to wait on God to be our provider and not rely solely on how we're going to achieve things and plan out our entire lives. But God does want to see us taking those steps. If we never start applying for the jobs or we never start skilling up, then he's not going to give us a job that he knows we're definitely not ready for. Another example is a relationship. Let's say you want to get married one day, you want to have a wife or a husband and kids. If you're not working on yourself and you're not working and taking those steps and improving yourself in order to be the person that is going to allow you to step into that role, then why would God give it to you if he knows that if he gives you that relationship or that marriage, you're just going to squander it? It's all about preparation and allowing God and showing him that, yes, Lord, I really do want this. I'm putting in the work. And I know that it's not only by my strength, but I'm allowing your faith and your courage to work through me. Because faith really shows up in your preparation and how you steward the now while you wait for the not yet. And we also know that God responds to movement, because if we're just praying for God to provide and to do all these things for us while we're just sitting back doing nothing, then honestly, that's pretty much just giving the devil a foothold for the sin of laziness and entitlement to creep up in your life. Because it's kind of like looking at God as a genie and expecting him to solve all your problems. And he definitely will solve all your problems. But if you're not aligning yourself and you're not stepping into that, then you're pretty much just blocking it. It's like you're saying that you want these things, but your actions are showing the contrary. If you're praying to God saying, Lord, I want this job, Lord, I want this relationship, I want you to bless my business, but you're not doing it with your actions, then you don't really believe it, because we know that faith and belief ultimately come from how we're living and acting out what we believe in. Now, if we recall, when Peter called out to Jesus in the storm for him to come out to the water and go to him, we saw that Peter was willing to, step out in faith and start walking. If Peter didn't take that initiative to get out of the boat and actually, take that faithful step, then he could have, quote unquote, had all the faith in the world in his head. But it wasn't until that he actually stepped out of the boat and started trusting in God that he started to take those few steps. Ultimately, he did end up going down because he lost the faith, but the faith all started because he was willing to take that step which God had called for him to do. No matter how small that step may look like, trust that God is pleased by it, and that's actually going to show him that you really do want to be blessed by him and that you're willing to step up to the plate to whatever he's calling for you to step into. I mean, think about it. Let's say you have a friend, right? And you're good friends with this person and you say you trust them and they trust you. But that friend comes along one day and says, hey, can I borrow $100? But you don't let him borrow $100. Then he's gonna look at you and say, wait, I thought you trusted me. But if you're not willing to part ways or let your friend borrow $100, then do you really trust him? Everything, belief, faith is all backed by action and how we're willing to show up in this life. And in order for you to take that first step, you really do not have to have the whole plan laid out before you. You just need to take that one step because God definitely will acknowledge it and he'll push you and reveal the next step as you take those faithful actions. You only need to be willing to move when God says come or go. And truly it is when we start obeying God that we can truly say that we have faith. Because if God is telling us to move, but we're just staying in the same place and not moving, then we truly do not have faith. Because it's pretty much just saying, I don't trust you, God. I don't trust myself. I do not want to move because I'm too gripped by fear and I don't know what lies ahead of me. That's pretty much what it means when we disobey God and we're not moving in faith. Because instead of trusting him and knowing that he goes before us, we're listening to the lies of the enemy. Psalms 37:23 says, the steps of a good man is ordered by the Lord and he delighteth in his way. And this is to say that you really don't need to know the how, you just need to know the why and take the first step that God is putting right in front of you. Everything else he's going to reveal as you start moving forward and taking those steps in faith. Because God got your back and he's not going to let you down. God will never leave you nor forsake you. I've shared this before on many of my videos, but I did recently take a big leap of faith where I moved from New York all the way to Texas. I didn't know exactly what was waiting for me here in Texas, but I knew that God wanted me to obey him in that aspect. And so it all started with me just taking one small step of faith by looking on the internet for apartments here. And also I didn't necessarily have a job lined up here, but I knew that as I started abiding by him and having faith instead of having fear, he was going to start opening up doors for me, and he can do the same thing for you in whatever it is that you're praying for. And if we recall what Jesus said, it only takes the faith of a small mustard seed. I don't know if you've seen a mustard seed before, but it's super tiny. And that's all it takes, because once you start planting that mustard seed and you allow it to come into fruition, it's going to start blossoming in such huge amounts of faith that can truly move mountains. And you're going to be super amazed by what God can do in your life if you just obey him in faithful action. Now, I'm not saying any of this is easy. We are going to meet a lot of resistance and a lot of fears that we just don't know how to handle sometimes in the midst of the moment. But if we just start leaning towards God and his word and trusting him in what he says is true and who he says we are, then we can find hope and confidence in Jesus and what path he has laid before us. Once we start taking those steps and we start praying and we start knowing that no matter how many times I may fail at this, I can always get back up because I know this is something that is ordained by him. There's always that one thing in your heart or in your mind that you know God wants you to do, but he's just waiting patiently for you to trust him and take those steps that are going to allow you to step into that potential that he has prepared for you. So if you're in a season of waiting on God, whatever it may be, whether it's a job, a relationship, healing for you or your loved ones, what's one small step of faith that you can do this week? It can be anything at all. Just one thing that you know can push you forward into aligning with what God's will is and how he wants you to sow whatever it is that you're looking to reap. All you need is trust and believe it wholeheartedly in your heart that God is capable and he is more than willing to work through you in order to see that thing manifest itself in your life. So yes, wait on the Lord. Wait on him, but do it actively. He loves a proactive waiter because we don't truly have faith unless we are working and collaborating with our Creator. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to bless the like button. Be sure to leave a comment down below on what's something that you can do in order to align yourself with what God is calling for you to do. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Have a good one. Peace.